on here?
Yeah, let's talk on here.
Hi. My name's Brooke and shit. Brooke and shit.
Yeah, keep singing. Brooke sings everything.
Yeah.
But then when I put her on air to sing stuff, she won't sing it.
I don't do that.
Well,
no.
This is caught on tape.
What? Stop.
Yo, Brooklyn. So I didn't tell you, but you're on. I was doing my podcast right now.
Oh, yeah?
And I was like, dude, I want to do a lot of extra stuff because I didn't do a podcast for 2 weeks just because of what's been going on with work.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, yo, I'm just going to fill your asses with podcasts today of the booty. Hey. And I wanted to talk to people around me. And I know that when me and you speak, one point I really want to get out is what's going on in Mizzou. Because I feel like a lot of people that listen may not know, and especially my audience.
Right.
But I wanted to get across because it's something that's really happening. If you can, like, run me through, first of all, the history of that school, which is crazy. And then, first of all, let me introduce you. Brookelyn.
Hey.
On air. I call her Social Bee. She's on with our show, The After Party, at nights at Real. And she's 5'7",
6.5 maybe.
Light brown hair.
Yeah.
To your shoulders. I'm trying to deflect from saying you're white, but she's white.
I'm white.
She's a white girl that can twerk, is what we've said on air, but she's way more than that. I think that's just like radio, like pickets, so that people know what to, like little characteristic signs.
Yeah, for sure.
But you were telling me about this, and how many months are you off? You've been out of college for?
Since May, so 4 or 5 months, something like that.
And that was in Missouri?
Yes.
And then you moved to LA?
Yes.
And now you're here at the radio station?
Yeah.
But tell me about Mizzou.
Mizzou is a really interesting place. It's I love it. You know, I went to school there all 4 years of undergrad. It's my home. Right. You know, I met my family there. It's just a really great place to be. But it is it's a very, very different place to be.
You met your family there. You met your family there? What does that mean?
The best friends that I've ever met in my entire life, and that I really don't think I'll ever find again.
Right.
They're just amazing people, and they all happen to be a different color than I am, which is kind of how all of this started for me and how I became so like socially aware. Right. But all of my friends are black, and I am a white female. And over these past 4 years, I've learned a lot about my own privileges and a lot about things that I don't deal with in life that other people do. And
I don't mean to, and I'm going to do this a lot.
I'm sorry. That's fine. That's fine.
But sometimes I feel like as not just as the oppressed or as the face or the what I can say, like I'm a group of the people that kind of get oppressed. I can look at someone like you and be like, she gets this done and she gets that done. Yet you might not even know that that's something that you get that we don't, because you don't know what it is to be us. Right. So sometimes I feel we kind of automatically judge as well and be like, they're this, they're that. But it's like, you're just living the life you know. Right. I can't knock you for that.
But it's one of those things where like the people that I do that, you know, I love and I met back there or whatever, there's about 5 of us, but they were the first people to teach me about like things that I don't realize every day. And now I do. Now it's almost like it's ingrained in my memory to question this kind of stuff. What I'm not aware of is usually my downfall, and is usually everybody's downfall as far as race goes and race relations. And I feel like that's where a lot of the time we don't match up in a way, because when you don't think about those kind of things, you're refusing to better yourself. You are refusing to actually fix the problem. So that's
knowing more has of course a growth aspect to it.
Yes.
And it's going to come with a lot of hard realizations when it comes to these issues, like your own race or like the struggle of another. Yeah. And what yours could have had to do with it.
And the biggest thing about being human is that we don't want to actually blame ourselves, and we don't want to take fault for anything. And we have personal biases that keep us from moving forward. And that's where race relations are today. It's not, we're not segregated, by law. No, we're not. But it's all mental. It's all in your head. It's all stereotypes.
And it's on all sides.
Yes, on all sides. And that is not putting any blame on anybody of a minority, because honestly, on their part, it is more logical to do that. To being white and whiteness, there's a lot. Let me figure out how to put this. Whiteness, that one of the privileges of being white is not having to recognize it, and the problems with being a minority and everything, and being able to say, you know what, I have these biases against white people. You have more of a reason to do that because you are oppressed. Us thinking, oh, well, I don't like Mexicans or I don't like black people. That is you literally just not thinking. That is you being absent of thought as a white person. But that is also my opinion, and that's also a learned opinion. This is the kind of stuff I learned at Mizzou. Right. And being around these kind of people and being open to it. And that's one of the first things about being white, is that you have to be open to outside, I guess, aggression towards your race.
Now, when you did go to Mizzou, you said that you met these people and you gravitated more towards the black side of Mizzou.
Definitely.
We'll get to why there's a black side.
Right.
But why don't you think you fit in with the quote unquote whites in that school? Or has it been like all your life?
It's really funny because in high school I was never really like I was in marching band. I didn't really do much or whatever. I never really felt at home where I was, and it was like a majority white culture. And I realized very young that I loved hip hop and that I was super into things that kind of scared me for some reason. If something scared me more, I wanted to like dig into it. Yeah, because I didn't want to be scared of it anymore. I didn't like being scared of things, which is probably why I freaking moved out to LA for like, you know, the month after I graduated college and stuff like that. But hip hop terrified me, and I wanted to learn about the black culture, and I wanted to be aware, and I wanted to make sure that I knew it as much about it as possible. So like when I got to college, I think that kind of set me up for meeting, you know, the people that I love so much. And there is about 5 of them now. You know, people have come in and out, but there are 5 that I met freshman year in the dorms, and they were the only people in the dorms to have their door open. Everybody else's door was closed, you know, they happen to be white people. And I found the door where the music was coming from, and I walked in, and it was, you know, about 6 or 7 black people, and I turned to them, I was like, "Hey guys, can I hang out with y'all?" And they all look at me like I feel like the record scratched a little bit, and they all like turned and looked at me like, yeah. And I was like, "Hey, you know, what's up? Can I hang out with y'all?" And they were like, "Yeah, hey,
sure.
Come on in." And like from that day, they were super open, super nice, accommodating. And, you know, obviously that's not just like, oh, black people are all nice, blah, but they were just really great people. And there was no denying that. And so like, since I fell in love with them and I made it a point to see them every day and be around them, and just like their vibes were
you gravitate towards energy.
Right. They were so incredible towards me. And Jessica, you know, one of the people that I first met is still my best friend to this day. I talked to her on the phone earlier and I miss her like hell, but she's from Dallas, Texas. And she used to grow up still being called the N-word, just walking down the street. And, you know, like it's still in the South, it's still a very, very big issue.
Right.
So her just talking to me alone about it, and she's sociology and psychology. So she's super about it as well. And then, you know, my other friends, psychology, engineering, you know, stuff like that. They're all very educated young people who are very strong in their beliefs and just very passionate about being accepted and wanting to live in a better world. And that inspired me.
I would say a lot of the times when we feel so passionately and we feel so, even like me with like, we can say hip hop, it can make me less embracing of an outsider coming in.
Right.
Or like, I feel like sometimes in hip hop, like we love it so much and we're so about it that we're not as welcoming to when we see a newer artist that may be another color or may come with like a little theme to them.
Right.
We'd be like, "Yo, what are you doing? Stay away from here."
Yeah.
There needs to be some earned esteem.
Right.
Did you ever feel that? Like you said, they're very welcoming, but sometimes when they're in this fight and they're going to school to really just fight this now and become those soldiers, and they were just still welcoming to you.
I feel like they felt that I was the same way and that it was just kind of like a welcoming kind of situation. But I guess like going back to your whole loyalty thing, it did make things a little bit more that, like I said, there was just kind of a push from all directions for those kind of relationships to form. And I think they were like that at first. And I hear stuff from them all the time about me being white. You know, like, "Oh, well, you're white, so you don't get this. Oh, I guess you're so white."
You don't get the inside jokes?
Yeah, I don't get the inside jokes. But there's I don't know. Those are also kind of things that I tried to overcome because I felt like I just needed to, you know, it's something I didn't understand yet, and I needed so badly to understand it. So I was like, "What's going on? What does that mean? Let's watch this movie. What's going on? These references. What's happening?" That kind of stuff. So,
we spoke earlier, like there's literally something like Mizzou is very on focus and on spotlight with too. Can you explain that situation?
Yeah.
Because you're like literally like, as we're in here talking about like freaking Young Thug and Fetty Wap, you're also like, "Yo, this just like the chancellor, this," and like it's really something you're filled with in heart and mind.
Right. But like I've mentioned earlier, Mizzou is very segregated. It's self-segregated. It's not, you know, Mizzou is by no means, you know, like trying to say, "Oh, you know, this is black Mizzou, this is white Mizzou." But there have been, like I said, I run on vibes, and I feel like a lot of people do, and I feel like ever since black students came to Mizzou in the 50s, the first black student, I think it was 53, was finally admitted into Mizzou. They felt like they weren't welcome. And they never have. And it's very apparent that when you go out there, there is a black Mizzou. There, the black people hang out with the black people, the white people hang out with the white people. And there's white fraternities, white sororities, and then there are black fraternities, black sororities, which is a great thing. Do your culture in a black Greek life is beautiful, but they have black homecoming, white homecoming.
So none of them ever intertwine. They just don't, like, they're just super separated. Like the frats and the sororities.
Oh, well, do
they recognize each other?
Not necessarily. There was a new Latin fraternity that popped up that actually one of my best friends is a founding father of.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and they're Lambda Theta Phi, I believe. But they're the only.
Okay, side note, how do fraternities get the little weird number letters names that they get? Do they just choose like
the only thing I know is that their chapters are it's going down, so it'd be like alpha for the first chapter, then alpha beta for the second, like stuff like that. But I don't know about like the specific letters.
So then it's alpha beta of
it's like the alpha beta chapter of Lambda Theta Phi from University of Missouri. But do they have
meanings? Is it like he who walks with the sun?
Sometimes,
sorority,
but it's not like that because they're Greek. They're Greek letters.
Oh,
yeah, they're Greek letters. But they all have mottos and they all have like things that they live by.
I wonder how Greek people feel about American.
I've never thought about that.
People,
but that is so real.
Like I wonder if like in Greece they have like
that is so real.
AC, DC. Chapter or whatever,
right,
like
exactly.
It has nothing to do with their culture.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't think they've ever gotten anybody commenting on that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm gonna ask a Greek person. If you're Greek and you're listening, or if you eat Greek yogurt and you might know the answer, please let me know.
If you eat Greek yogurt, really?
Yeah, it's okay. Good. I don't know. Maybe they might know a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you?
Okay.
It's your podcast, man.
Okay, so the new Latin chapter, he's a part of it. That's dope.
So they're the only like multicultural fraternity that is a part of, I think it's I don't even know, IFC. It might be IFC, which is like the white fraternity like organization that puts together all their stuff. But then everybody else is like NPHC. I might be getting this completely wrong, but all like multicultural fraternities, something like that, it has a different organization name.
Okay, so this one was the first that was accepted by
they're technically a part.
Mizzou.
They're technically a part of. Where they have like Greek row and all the houses and everything. That is white fraternities. Black fraternities don't get houses. So bad. That's like a whole different issue that they've always fought. We're a part of a fraternity, but we don't do it to, we still pay dues, but we don't do it to get girls. We don't do all this other stuff. We do it for loyalty and brotherhood and all this other stuff.
Where do they reside? Are they like in apartments or?
Yeah, apartments, wherever they can find a house. Sometimes they buy a house together and they'll just all kind of like pay rent and live together and stuff. But like it is more of an experience type thing. And that's another thing I kind of learned that I vibed more towards was and like stepping and everything and like the girls will step. There's just all really cohesive. It's a movement, It's like we are the deltas, we're the kappas, we're all this other stuff. It's all a movement. And I feel like that's why I kind of gravitate more towards that because it's a concept. And it's really pleasant to me, that kind of thing. But that's like the biggest thing I noticed at first from Mizzou was like the biggest difference. That they even have separate homecomings, which, they've had, well, why do black people get their own homecoming? And they feel like, well, we're not included. We're, you exclude us from all the white, the white activities
or
and
like
everything.
When you it's even if they don't say like let's say they're not saying you're excluded, you're not invited, but when you show up, we're gonna make you feel like, why did I come here?
Exactly.
Like it's that, we've all been there. Like even if you're invited or you show up to a place and someone doesn't want you there, you feel that energy of
and that's what I mean is like I've always felt it. And I'm probably on the wrong side of things. But like it is just it was always very apparent to me just walking around with Jessica, walking around with Rob and Cam. I would get dirty looks, like it was just like the weirdest thing in the world. And I would always ask, what's going on? Like I'm just trying to get lunch. Like what's happening? And they would have to explain it to me. And like things that I would never think about, things that, like apparently I'd hang out with black men. Oh, that means that she's looking for a black man.
Right.
I mean, she just wants black dick, all this other stuff. And I'm sitting here like, well, I'm single. I don't know what's going on. And I'm sitting here looking like an idiot because I'm so privileged that I don't have to think about these things all the time. And so it was one of those things where I wanted to put myself in a situation where people could find me like as a credible source. I didn't want to be the white girl that hang out with the black people. I wanted to be the white girl who knew the fuck what she was talking about.
Right.
Who knew that, I could have this opinion on these issues and be taken seriously, but not just because like I'm white and I have these feelings and you're hurting me and now I feel guilty because of slavery and all this other stuff. I wanted to actually be a part of the conversation. So when I realized all these things happening, and, I had so much love for Rob, Cam, Trey, all these other people.
These are
Jessica,
the people that you met, the 5.
Yes, these are my best friends in the entire world. I talk to them every day. But, when I wanted to be a part of their lives, like everybody tries to reach out and be a part of mine, and I wanted to be a part of theirs. I was more interested in being a part of their life and making sure that I would be there forever. Those were one of the things that I had to learn about them. And had to learn about their experience. A black experience in America is so much different than a white experience. Right. And I think a lot of white people don't think about that. They're like, oh, why are they complaining? Why are they, what's wrong? Shut up. Just go to college. You get a scholarship.
We literally live in the same world or nation, but we don't live the same lives.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's one of the things I had to learn the hard way. Well, why aren't they accepting me? Okay, well, black people have been treated a certain way by you their entire lives. And I was like, I didn't do anything. They were like, no. But your people have.
Yeah, you
the people of your same skin color. Yep. I was like, well, I'm Polish. We came after the war. I don't know what's going on. You're like, we didn't have slaves. All this other stuff. But that doesn't matter.
Right.
Because there are still things that I was born with because I look a certain way that I have to acknowledge. And once that acknowledgement starts and I can put it to use is when things start to change. And the biggest thing at Mizzou that's happening right now after all of these, after this constant segregation that's been going on and after, so much negativity and white people calling people the N-word just for no reason because they feel like it's okay.
Yeah, we were talking about social media and how they will literally go on Twitter and Instagram or Facebook and down talk a black student.
For sure. They have been.
It just be okay, it's just another day in school.
Yes, and they have been like that through this whole thing that's been happening. I'll just explain it real fast. Countless racist
just
events.
FYI, when you say that you're gonna long story short, or let me do this quickly, or let me do this, it's not going to take real fast.
It will. No. It will. Hold on.
That's hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
No, for the past 4 months or whatever, there have been really, really negative racist events that have been happening. The president of the student, the senior student class, was actually called the N-word just walking to class by some white guys in a truck.
Is he the president of the whole senior class, or is it just the black?
No, he the president, the MSA president. Okay. They call it MSA.
Of the school period.
Yes.
So it's
he was
Barack
voted president.
Obama
right.
of Mizzou.
Right. So he started to come out on Twitter and Facebook and he was like, yo, what is this? I'm the president of MSA and I was called the N-word. So how am I supposed to represent students who don't respect me? How am I supposed to represent, a school where it's safe for other people to call me this and for me to feel unsafe, stuff like that. So that's the first thing that started. And after that, a group of kids were called the N-word by another group of kids around a security guard who did nothing. It was just kind of why are we ignoring this? What's happening? So they start getting angrier and angrier. And then all of a sudden there was a swastika written in feces in a dorm. One of the dorms at Mizzou. And that was almost the final straw for everybody. So finally people started to come together. Yes. So
how recent was this? How recent was the
maybe a month or two ago?
Poop swastika.
Yeah, maybe a month or two ago. And that's for the past month.
Does that make national news or is it
That did not. That did not make national news. Not until they started protesting. And that's one of the biggest problems is this is okay.
Yeah.
A swastika written in human feces. Why is this okay?
Right.
Why are we not covering this? That's insane. But so they start to rally and they're calling it Concerned Student 1950, I think. Concerned something 1950. I should get my facts right. Concerned student, I think. But hashtag Concerned Student 1950 because in the 50s was when they actually let the first black person into school. So they started to protest. They started doing silent protests. They started to protest, the school system. So we're not going to eat at any of the dining halls, and these are black students. And finally it got to a point where it gained so much attention. A friend of mine, his name's Jonathan Butler. He was the guy who said, we all knew he was going to change the world someday. He's a dope human being. He really is. But he's a Sigma at Mizzou, part of a black fraternity. And he was the one who said, you know what? Our president hasn't done anything. And he's the president of all four schools. So KC, Columbia, St. Louis, and then S&T. So he's in charge of all of it. He was like, our president is doing nothing for us. He has not addressed these issues. Nothing is going on.
He stayed silent.
He stayed silent about the whole thing. Nothing happened. So he said, I am protesting him being in office. I'm going on a hunger strike. So he did not eat for the past, about 2 weeks. And finally, after all of this stuff, after the black football players finally were like, we're protesting too. We're not going to play a game. until this president is taken down. And this is all happening at Mizzou, and I'm watching it happen on Twitter and Instagram, and terrible things are being said by the white people at Mizzou.
How is this president of the UN? Like, if you were to, like, how does he conduct business?
How people have conducted a lot of business regarding race relations is to ignore them. And, you know, I personally have never experienced anything negative from the man. You know, I don't really know how he runs things. I had a great time at Mizzou, you know, even though there were still these kind of things, especially with everything happened in Ferguson.
Right.
And, you know, when Trayvon Martin was shot and like all this other stuff, these things have been happening. I was a part of a lot of protests last year that happened, you know, like hands up, don't shoot. We took a picture for that kind of stuff, but I don't really know. And, you know, that was never mentioned by the president. You know, these kind of things were never taken care of. So
I also have like, you know, how you're fresh out. Like this is happening. Literally, you said like within the last 4 months. Okay.
Yes.
Literally like probably a couple months after you did. Could you have seen that coming? Like when you were there, like the last few months that you were there?
And that's why I'm so proud of the people back at Mizzou. You know, I'm not super close to any of them since most of my friends, you know, we all graduated and stuff.
Right.
Cameron's still back there. But, you know, like I'm super proud of coming from a place where people are so strong in their will to be better.
Right.
And to want to fix something, because Mizzou, like people are saying, well, why don't you just leave Mizzou? Go to the next HBCU, you know, historically black college or university. Just, you know, go somewhere where you feel comfortable. You know, it's like, oh, well, you know, if you don't love Mizzou, just leave because we love Mizzou. No, we love Mizzou. You know, Mizzou is our home. This is where, you know, you don't kick us out. It's the same thing like, oh, well, immigrants go back to where you came from. No, I was born here. This is my home. So, you know, Mizzou, we want to fix Mizzou. We want to make it a better place to be. We want to make it a place where we feel safe.
Yeah, it's crazy that there's so many just things that happened in the 1950s that are still like now big problems.
Oh yeah, but so that's what I mean is that's what Tim Wolf did. Yeah. He ignored it. When you ignore these problems and you don't actually take a stance on things and you don't, you know, these are your students. This is what you're in charge of. What are you doing if you're not fixing these problems?
So Jonathan went on a hunger strike for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and finally,
did anybody join him?
No, it was just John. Okay. It was just John. But everybody, I mean, like,
that's
strong one kid dying is, that's what, you know, we were all worried about. And we were all like, is John okay? You know, like
that, even that hope or that faith that he can have in himself, like he has to have a strong mind state. It's himself to stay in that, knowing it's going to just be him.
Right. Right. And he did what we always thought he would do, change the world. And, you know, like other colleges are picking up on this, Ithaca College and Yale and Harvard, and they're all picking up, you know, they're all like questioning their people in power now. Why are these events happening? These little microaggressions of racism. You know, we've brought this to your attention. What's going on? Why isn't it changed? Other protests have been happening. And finally, you know, we see in Jonathan that it can pay off. We see in him that anybody putting in this effort and everything, and even if it's quiet, even if it's a small thing, even, you know, whatever you can do to help, it paid off for him, because his little movement sparked an entire situation, you know, like with the football players. And of course, you know, the national media, ESPN finally picked it up when the football players refused to play. So that was when,
right.
And of course, 2 days later, he resigned. This happened either yesterday or today. And then right after that, our chancellor resigned.
So what about the other side? The side that would be non-protesting, the white Mizzou.
They are.
Are they protesting like why is this guy out of office now? Why are these guys resigning?
Oh yeah, there have been terrible things that have been said on social media about the whole thing. There have been entire articles written about, hey, black people, shut up. You know, just that kind of attitude. Just what's wrong with you? You know, like, oh, if you don't like it, get out. You know, stuff like that. And it's been really, really abrasive, and it's been harsh. And I hate. That's, you know, like I said, one of the reasons I've told you this. I've told Letty this earlier. Like, I don't feel comfortable around a lot of white people, because I feel like there's an underlying tension, and there's like this, I never know if I can trust whether or not you are actually open-minded enough to accept my friends and my family. And it hurts me to know that. And it hurts me to read these things on the internet, because as soon as it happens, I think of Jessica, and she's 5'3" and she's so sweet, and I love her so much. And how could you hate that? You know, how could you say that about her? You know, I'm about to cry.
No, that's the thing. Like, once there's a human, like, you put a face to it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because then it stops becoming a theoretical thing. Yeah. Or something that someone non-close to you is going through. Right. You see that person that you genuinely care about and you genuinely know does not deserve this. Yeah. So it's like, how many more Jessicas are there? You know what I'm saying? Everyone could be a Jessica.
Right. So, and to some extent, everybody is. Everybody faces things like this every day, and it never feels great. Never. And that's one of the things where it's so confusing for white people to understand, is we've never dealt with this head on before. We've never dealt with these little micro microaggressions, these little like, and race has never been an issue for us. We're not hated because we're white. We're not, you know, it's just nobody's ever called us, you know, cracker maybe, but who says that?
Right.
You know, like we don't have anything like that. If you feel threatened by somebody of another race, it's your fault. Because there are no stereotypes against white people that aren't maybe funny. We don't dance. Okay. Some people can't dance.
Right.
That happens. That's
but
good
it's
fun.
Nothing that kind of goes beyond the surface.
No.
It's nothing that hits the soul.
It's not questioning your humanity.
Yeah.
It's not questioning your intelligence. It's not calling you dirty.
Yeah.
You know, those are negative things that make you feel bad.
Right. And even with like the situation, like, and I spoke about this before when Trump said like, go back to your country. Right. Or when someone in Trump's camp said something to Jorge Ramos, who is a news anchor in Latin American media, and they told him to go back to his country. And he's like, I'm a U.S. citizen. The fact that a white person will never feel out of place in places like this, but can make you feel like an outsider.
Exactly.
Like you do not belong. I can't say anything that will make a white person feel like they don't belong. Like in America.
Right.
It's crazy because they're probably the only exception. They can say that to everybody, yet a lot of like they're really not the ones that like were here in the first place. Right. So it's crazy.
No, exactly. It's such a confusing situation. And that's one of the things, you know, I said when we first started talking, like it's all in your head. If you're open to these kind of changes and these kind of experiences, if you love humanity, if you love people in general, if you love America, anything like that, and it's not even patriotism. It's just if you are a human being who thinks and who moves and who learns and everything, why are you not open to being better? And why are you not open to bettering your surroundings? Right. And that's what we're doing with Mizzou. You know, like I would love to be a part of it, but I can't from 2,000 miles away. I can do all I can on social media. I can share and everything, but it really does hurt me inside that I can't be a part of this situation. Like I would love to see how the campus feels right now because like I would love to walk around with Cam and Rob and just to see what everybody did. Are people looking at each other? People talking? How's class? You know, stuff like that. Has it become more violent? Has it become more tension? Right. It's a really interesting situation. And for them to do that and put themselves in that position is bravery, is pure bravery. Because in order to fight for this, you know, on some Martin Luther King stuff, he was constantly threatened, his life, his children's life, his wife's life, you know, stuff like that. But he made history. Right. And it changed everything that we know today. Those are steps that he moved forward on, but that was knowing that he was starting some shit. Right. And that's the same thing that they're doing.
And also accepting the fate
the
in
consequences.
Doing that.
Right.
In knowing, like, if you're going to fight for this, it could be to the death.
And that's what I'm sure they know. And that's like Jonathan Butler going on hunger strike. Oh, well, if Tim Wolf lets this go on long enough, hey, I'm going to die. Right. You know, and that's a risk he's willing to take because first of all, he knows that, I mean, like, it whatever is right is going to win above all.
Would Jonathan or the people that are protesting have been okay if the president...
UM, like the UM system.
If he addressed it rather than step down. Because he would rather step down than address it. Right. Is what's crazy to me.
It is, yeah, that is another... But at this point, he's dug himself a hole. You know, they even like protested him at the homecoming parade. They like stood in front of his car so that he couldn't move any further and start, you know, like they were, you know, saying, well, what's going on? Why aren't you helping? All this other stuff. But it's gotten to a point where there was too much inaction. And with any president, you know, like if there's a scandal and you haven't addressed it, if there's, you know, you make yourself look like an idiot. Right. And that's with anybody. It's all politics. And of course, like being the president, you know, being paid a certain amount of money. And, you know, there have always been questions about also how like the athletics has been handled there, you know, like rape cases that you ignore. Is it, you know, like you ignore the negativity. Right. And it gets to a point where you're like, hey, do that. It's going to put you in a place where you don't want to be. Exactly. So, I mean, they know that. And these are intelligent human. I've never met so many smart and just incredible people than I did at Mizzou. That class, you know, and most of the time I only know Black Mizzou. So when I do say that, I'm referencing Black Mizzou. Black Mizzou is just an incredible power. Right. They have so much strength in themselves and so much love for the people around them. It was a family. And even though at times I didn't feel like I was welcome, I understood why I wasn't. And it's not my place to get mad. Right. So it's stuff like that. They're doing so much and I love them so much for it. And it's just something that I hope that I can accomplish on my own someday, which is one of the reasons why I got into radio.
I want to see people that have a message to their voice because a lot of the times people have voices, but what are you saying exactly? And it's like that can be contradictory because you're actually talking, you're saying words, but really what is the intent behind you and your message? So when you come to me and you talk about this stuff, like I know it means something to you and your movement in itself is in the starting points. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like the only one that can stop the movement or keep it going is you. I feel like a lot of the times in hip hop and in hip hop radio, because girl, you chose shit.
Yeah.
You chose hip hop radio to come into. But a lot of the times you're going to keep facing it where it's like, it's not as comfortable for the listener for you to talk this way.
Of course.
Or for the people around you that may believe a certain thing about your race to talk this way.
Right. And people ask me all the time, what's your brand? What's your brand? What's your brand? You know, who are you? What do you want to be? And the first thought that comes, the first thought that comes to me is like, I'm socially conscious. I'm socially aware. It's what I'm passionate about. I want to talk about race relations. And at first thing, no,
stay away from that.
Can't do that. You know, can't do that on radio. You know, like, and I'm like, well, that's great, but it's something that I will always be passionate about, and I will find my way to put my 2 cents in. So, you know, like everybody has a starting point. You're right. Everybody has a voice, and there's just certain ways to go about it. So I hope that I can find that.
Right.
And, you know, be me. And then while also like, you know, DJ Head always calls me a crime fighter. Like, oh, how you fighting crime today? Like stuff like that. And like sometimes I do.
Right. And as it should be.
Exactly.
I feel like you can get just off complexion alone. You can get a lot of places that an average person fighting this fight, like your friends, cannot get into. So the fact that you are not even disguised, but the fact that you are you, you can probably speak to certain people that they couldn't. You can probably, where people would automatically just be turned off to them talking or their presence, they'd let you in and you'd find a way to kind of maneuver around that. That's so important. That's so special. I hope I know a lot of times there is already like an expectation for you not to care about us enough or not to even,
of course,
just to still be like, yo, I'm still not facing it.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's like, it's a gift to the cause and it's a gift to yourself if this is really what you want to do.
Of course.
That you are.
And I try to preach this all the time. Like me being where I am and everything, like it probably does have everything to do with me being white. You know, like I'm also educated. You know, I can you know preach all day about how like, oh well, I'm smart, and you know I've also put the work in. I have a resume. And how much of on my resume would I have gotten if I didn't look like this, and not even just being white, but not being a terribly ugly person. You know, it's just simple things that you never think about, and that is all about ignorance. Yes, it is.
I'm just kidding.
But it
She's
is.
Cute,
You're
guys.
right. You're right. But it's all ignorance.
Right.
It's all ignorance, and it's comfortable being ignorant. Sometimes you just feel like you don't want to learn today. You know, sometimes you just don't want to learn. Sometimes you want to be
It requires
terrible.
more effort from you to go beyond and try to understand or learn.
Right. And sometimes like being ignorant is fun. You know, like stuff like that. But sometimes you do have to challenge yourself. And I know like being here and there are some things that I will have to fight. There like, even my opinion, like I said, I've always wanted to be credible when it comes to race relations. And it'll be harder for me to say anything about, I wrote a whole paper about black feminism, and writing a paper is not like, oh, now I know everything.
Right.
But that's me taking hours of studying and making sure I understood what was going on and stuff like this. And Jessica, Alexis, Felicia, all of my closest friends from back home, seeing what they go through on a daily basis. Black feminism is something I'm super confident in and passionate about. And I will never be able to just sit here and be all like, oh, well, I'm a black feminist.
Right.
Like those are things that I will have to fight. Those are things but those are the kinds of fights that I want to have.
Right.
Those are the things that I want to actually talk to people about and prove them wrong. Me being white, I know now. I don't think I always knew this. I felt like there was always, I was always kind of like, oh, well, why can't everybody just get along? What are we doing? But once you learn the history and backstories of all this stuff that happens and everything, and you become open-minded towards learning this kind of stuff, your whole outlook on life changes.
I agree.
And I'm so happy it did. And I try to better myself every day because of it. And this whole situation with Mizzou has just been so eye-opening, and it pushes me forward.
Yeah, that's so, and that at the end of the day, like, and this is like, you literally, we talk about the beginning, you're just growing.
Yes.
And then this movement in itself is just growing. I feel like it's relevant, or why we're talking it. I always like feel like we're talking about it in the room, but sometimes I'm like, how can this get out? How can this get out? And here's the way for me to kind of just have that get out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And oh my gosh, this is like, I appreciate you so much for that. That's awesome.
I just hear it and I'm just the type of person that I'm aware of my surroundings. So I know when I can flip a situation to be on air and entertaining.
Yeah.
I know when a part in a song is good to play.
Right.
That's will shock people. And I know when you speak of these things, it's issues that I feel people, even if they listen to me for hip hop or for whatever.
Because you're cute.
They get exactly. She said it. I always say that, by the way.
Yeah.
But then now they'll be able to kind of learn on this end.
Right.
So Thank you. And by the way, it's 2:00 in the morning. That's how you know we're
we
really
don't sleep
about
here.
it. That's how you know we're really about it. No, but also I did want to ask you, because we're in the radio world and we're in the hip hop world. Do you find it now that they're just like, okay, are you, especially being a white person, this past year these past couple years have been a lot of you're Black appropriating, you're like appropriating culture. Do you see that with your own experience, your personal experience?
Yes. I'm asked all the time, why do white people like us so much? And, you know, it's hard to come up with answers for that kind of stuff, you know, like, and you try to break it down and try to be scientific about it. And, you know, oh, why do white girls tan? You know, why are you getting a tan? Oh, you want to be black? You want to be black because you want to tan?
Oh, you got braids on, girl.
Exactly. With the whole braiding and everything. And that is obviously backlash from the past 300, 400, or 500 years. And it's also something that we can't really blame. You know, the white guilt is also a very real thing, just as like, you know, German guilt in the Holocaust. Stuff like that is a very, very real thing. So for me, being questioned about that kind of stuff is almost like another reason to start a conversation. And there's always like, oh, you know, well, why do you do this? You know, like, oh, why are you working on your butt? Why do you want a bigger butt? Because you want to twerk? Because you want to be black? And especially in hip hop radio, why do you want to be in hip hop radio? And you're like, do you like black people? Do you want to date a black man? Why do you want to be here? I've been asked, like,
your motivations are questioned, rather than a person that could be brown or black that gets into it. Right,
like, why don't you go to Top 40 radio? Top 40 is where the money's at. Like, oh, it has nothing to do with that, sir. And, you know, it all, like, I'm passionate about what I do and everything, but it is interesting to want to like look into that kind of stuff. And I think everybody should, even with like Iggy Azalea, you know, and how people question her. What are you doing here? You know, like, well, why all the plastic surgery? You know, why are you twerking? Why are you rapping? And that's something she hasn't answered yet. You know, and I feel like that's what a lot of people are waiting for, is her to kind of give an explanation. Like, and be, you know, like, I'm sitting here like, I love black feminism. You know, I can sit here and say that. Iggy has never said anything like that. And that's why she's not accepted by the hip hop community. Hip hop community is nothing but real.
Got you. She's never been open about her personal insights and her personal motives. Yep.
Yes. And so like hip hop is all about that and all about loyalty and being real and everything. And I think why I want to be here so bad is I think that they'll recognize that I am passionate about that. And it's the same thing with like Iggy and hip hop and why she's not accepted.
She had a tweet and it was like, she was like, oh, I'm leaving LA or something. Thank God. Like I'm annoyed of that Mexican accent or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she said that.
Yeah, see, that's exactly it. And where are your motives?
Things, and then it's like there's no answer to, or then the answer is very defensive. The answer is very like, well, it's your fault for taking it wrong. Or if you did this, why are you coming at me like this? Or I can say what I want or stuff like that. Because then it becomes that. And then in turn, your defensiveness shows what your motivations were, that it really was on some negative shit.
Exactly.
It wasn't, because honestly, if I say some shit that can sound away, and I'm like, that's not really what I meant, I'll be like, yo, this is what, like, my bad. Like, there's an apology in order or an explanation, not like, well, you should have just, it's y'all's. Like, why you taking that way?
And you know what's funny is that's another aspect of white privilege.
Of
being defensiveness.
Got you.
And not having to answer for anything that you say. And, you know, like, of course you learn manners. Oh, my God. Like, being a human being and you grow up with mothers and everything, you're obviously a decent person.
Right.
But when it comes to these kind of things in race relations, when you get defensive automatically, when people question you, and usually the problem about being white and race is that you're automatically equivalating being racist to being negative. So white people get so defensive. You might be racist. I've recognized that I have racist tendencies, you know, unintentionally, of course.
Okay. She tweeted, sorry.
No, good. Go on.
Is it wrong? I feel happy to hear Southern accents again and not Mexican ones. Fuck it, I am. And it's just like...
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just like...
That's crazy.
And it's those... It's all of us... Okay. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's intention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like, even with the get out of my country.
For sure.
None of those words are vulgar. None of those words are any sort of curse word. But together and the way they're spoken, the intention is to make you feel less than.
Exactly.
The intention is to make you feel outcasted and you, like, you're lesser than me.
Yeah.
In her tweet, it's like her intention is to say something. Because you wouldn't have even added those things together.
Right.
Like, it could have been like, yo, I love Southern accents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, exactly.
Like, it was unnecessary.
Simple. Very simple.
To say those things.
Yeah, like the white people who are coming about Mizzou, like, oh, I love Mizzou. You don't have to add, so black people should leave. You know, like,
right.
You can say you love Mizzou and not have to say all the extra stuff because now you're making an attempt at making somebody feel bad. And you know what you're doing, which is why you're writing articles and why you're putting it on social media. Okay, you're not slick. You know, we get what you're trying to do. So that's just what, I mean, it's always been happening. And to go back to like, you know, like, well, all this cultural appropriation and everything like that. I mean, the people, they do have a right to be upset, you know, even with braids and everything. I've asked all the time, can I wear braids? You know, like cornrows, whatever. And people tell me no. Okay, I'm not going to fuck with that because that's y'all.
Right. You're
and that's dope. And I respect
right.
the shit out of that. I'm not going to try to get an afro because why? I would look stupid. Well, why would I do that? But it is.
I just pictured you with the afro. I'm going to afro you on an app or something. I'm
Shut
sure
up. Shut up. But no, they have a right because for years they're saying we won't hire you because you have an afro.
Right.
We won't hire you. You're not like allowed in our school because you have cornrows. You know, like you can't do that. So that is a microaggression. That is terrible. There are people in journalism school at Mizzou right now, Black women who will only be able to have a certain kind of hairstyle on TV because in news, you're not allowed to have an afro because it's too ethnic.
Right. Or like this whole Zendaya thing with
Yeah, because it's still a thing. So, I mean, with cultural appropriation, you know, twerking is fun. I like to twerk. Twerk is great. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, look at the new dance that white people made up. You know, like,
you're not going to take it as own. I get you.
Right. So, I mean, I'm always going to give credit where credit is due. And I think that's the first step in doing any of this. You want to put cornrows in your hair? That's fine. Be all like, you know what? I did this. If it offends people, I'm sorry. You know, I love the hairstyle. It's been around for years. This is the background of it, you know, like, you know, came from, you know, all this other stuff, because that shows that you understand it. Not only do you love it and that you want to, you know, put it on your head, but you understand where it came from and why it may not be okay for you to do this. Once you address those things, people will be more open to you about it.
I agree. I also see, like, I always seek to understand, especially before I critique, I try to understand.
Right.
Regardless of the situation. I know, like, I saw... It was Kylie with the cornrows that she had.
Right.
She herself did not say, like, I did this. Like, I created this. It's stuff like people put on blogs and magazines, but who do we go to? We go to this girl is this way, and how dare she? And it's like, who knows? She may know, like, yes, I know Black people started this. I know I wanted to this way and that way. Like, sometimes we kind of can question the people that love us or that try to come into us, but I also feel like that, like you said, that is in effect to what happened.
Right.
But also I'm more open and I try to understand, like, she's also, like, it is a really cool hairstyle.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
For sure.
So it's like sometimes things that are innocent by the person get blown into something crazy and very disrespectful. And what the fuck? Kylie didn't start this shit. And then at the same time, she's probably like, I never said I did.
And that's another thing is, I just want to try out a new hairstyle.
Right,
You're like, why are you getting mad at me? I just wanted to fucking, like, I fucking like braids.
Right.
Shut up. You know, all this other stuff. But it does get to a point where, like I said, Black women have a reason to be upset.
Right.
And that is the first thing you need to understand. Like, even if you don't want to take your cornrows out, you still need to apologize or address the situation. And that is just bottom line for anybody.
Something we're also born with is pride.
Hell yeah.
So to know, like, I have to apologize for this. Even if you're not, like, even if you're not racist and you're white and you do this. But just to be told, like, you have to, and you're like, no, I don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even that, and that's in everything.
Because this is America and I don't have to do anything.
Exactly. Right. But the fact that, I think that's a stepping stone in its own. Like, you can be, I don't know if it's unracist, but you can be someone that isn't racist.
Yes.
Yet still have a lot of pride where it's like, yo, like, it's very confrontational back.
And you know what's crazy is I experienced a lot of that. Like, any kind of backlash I experienced, like, from any kind of, like, the Black community at Mizzou. I, you know, walk into a party and get all these looks. Why are they looking at me? I'm just trying to be nice. Why don't they like me? Shit, I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, I had to take a step back.
Yeah.
Because they don't have white people walking into their parties unless they do have a motive. You know, where the weed at? You know, shit like that.
Right.
So, of course, I had to take a step back and be like, humble yourself. Brooke, shut up. You know, like, just chill out. This is not your place. If you want to step in here, you know the consequences already. So just chill the fuck out. If you need to say sorry to somebody, say sorry. I've had to apologize to Jessica for things that I've said, you know, because I didn't know.
Right.
And I'm glad she has the patience with me to want to teach me. She loves me enough to want to sit me down and have a conversation with me.
Right.
So that's all it is. It's like, if they're open enough with me to want like me to be a better person, then I would want to be a better person.
So rather than themselves judge you, to teach you.
Yes.
Because that takes a whole lot of heart in itself too.
And they've taught me patience with other people as well. You know, like, I'll be able to sit down and have a conversation with somebody about this kind of stuff and be open and, you know, like, accepting to any kind of negativity that they bring my way, because it's ignorance. And I know that, and I can fix it. So that's just where I am with that.
Thank you.
Hey.
Go do more work.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hold on. I forgot to tell you something.
What?
Have you ever listened to Merz's Dark Skin White Girl?
No.
Okay, you should listen to that song.
Okay.
It's by Merz, because I always give recommendations to listen to. But when I'm talking to you and you're talking, I'm like, dude, she would love Dark Skin White Girl. It's either called Dark Skin White Girl or Light Skin Black Girl.
What?
No, that's the name of the song is either or. So if it's not one, then it's the other.
Okay.
But yeah, go Google it. And as you're driving home right now, don't think about ghosts, because it's now 3:00 in the morning and it's the devil's hour.
Me?
It's the devil's hour, bro.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
This
not.
is when all the aliens and all the ghosts, I promise you. And if you don't agree, then you're just not recognizing Latino culture.
What?
So
how did I get tied into that? That's what I mean.
Okay, bye. Bye.